In this video, we'll be taking apart the Poco X7. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and click on the notification bell so you'll be notified once I upload a new video. Also, if you need any tools, there are links in the description. We'll start off by removing the SIM tray. Looking at the SIM tray, we can see a red rubber gasket around the opening. Now, heat needs to be applied to the backplate using either a hairdryer or a heat gun to loosen up the adhesive underneath, and then a pry tool can be used to pry the backplate off. I prefer to use a hairdryer since there's less of a chance of damaging any of the components inside by overheating them. Here's a better look at the vegan leather backplate. The rear or back camera lens covers can be replaced by applying heat and prying them off, so you won't have to take apart the phone to replace those. There are 17 Phillips screws which need to be removed. Looking at the top motherboard cover, we can see antenna flex cables, the NFC antenna, the LED flash, as well as graphite film to help transfer heat. Here's a look at the other side. Looking at the bottom speaker assembly, we can see a mesh filter over the speaker opening. And here's the speaker itself. The battery cable can be disconnected, followed by the rest of the cables. In order to remove the battery, there is a pull pouch provided to help you pry it off. This is the 5110 mAh battery. This is the screen flex cable which is routed through an opening in the mid-frame, which connects to this extension flex cable that connects to the main board. So if you needed to replace the screen, you would have to remove the back plate, the screws on the top cover and the cover itself, disconnect the battery cable and the screen cable, pry the battery off, giving you access to the screen cable, at which point you disconnect the flex cable for the screen, heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry the old screen off, apply new adhesive and reapply the new screen, making sure you run the flex cable back to the opening in the mid-frame and reassemble the phone. This flex cable connects the main board to the subboard. Once the flex cables have been peeled back, we see the 3D layer of graphite, which is multiple layers of graphite, which runs underneath the battery as well as the motherboard to help transfer heat. So there is no vapor chamber on this phone. However, the 3D graphite in most cases does just as well of a job as a vapor chamber to help transfer heat. The coaxial cable can be disconnected by just popping it off. Looking at the main board, we see the 50 megapixel primary camera, the 8 megapixel ultra wide, as well as a 2 megapixel macro lens. The main camera is the only one with OIS or optical image stabilization. The camera connectors can be disconnected by just popping them off. There's a secondary microphone on the top corner, and additional graphite film over the shield to help transfer heat. The infrared or IR blaster is located on the other side, as well as the proximity sensor and the 20 megapixel front facing camera. There's also copper film and thermal paste on the back shield to help transfer heat. Once the copper film has been peeled back, we see thermal pads which are seated on the RAM and processor. Here's a better look with the thermal pads removed. Taking a look at the subboard, we see the primary microphone located here, and the charger port located next to that with a red rubber gasket around it. The SIM reader is located on the other side. The haptic feedback or vibrator motor is located here, and the fingerprint scanner is located next to that. Both are held down with some adhesive. To replace those, just apply some heat and gently pry them off. For anyone worried about accidentally inserting the SIM ejector tool in the wrong hole, on this phone you don't need to worry, since both the filters and the microphones are seated above the holes, so they wouldn't get damaged. This is the flex cable for the volume keys and power button. In order to replace that, just gently peel it off the frame, and lift up and remove the green bracket from the frame. Then you'd be able to pull out the flex cable and replace it. Once that green rubber bracket has been removed, if you wanted to remove the buttons, there's another metal bracket over here which locks them in place, which will have to be pulled out and removed. Once that metal bracket has been removed, the buttons can be pulled out of the frame. As for the earpiece speaker, it's located on top, which is also held down with some adhesive. Again, to replace that, just apply some heat and pry it off. For the repairability score on this phone, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, apply new adhesive and reapply the back cover. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.